Anti-derivative Jill.
Rating?
So, hello, I'm Anti-Derivative Jill, and this is Indefinite Lunch in Infinite Combinations number 74. And today we're reviewing the next original series episode in production order, and it's By Any Other Name. And we're happy to have Pop Culture Curator here today, with even though it'll be just a brief time. But I want to make sure everybody will catch his live stream that he is planning later on tonight. And I think it's going to be a sci-fi horror tonight, right?
Hello, everybody. Yes, tonight we're covering The Fly from 1958. I apologize I can't be here for the whole stream, but doctor's appointment calls, unfortunately.
Yeah. And when you know you're 10 minutes out, please let us know, and we'll give you the space to give your review for the episode and your rating. And you can spoil things. It doesn't matter. It's a 55-year-old show. We're okay.
Okay, gotcha.
And also hello to Scotty R37. Make sure to follow him on Twitter. And also happy Star Trek week.
Yeah, Star Trek week.
Right.
Celebrations. You get two. This is almost like the beginning of the original series itself. There are two anniversaries, two pilots, if you will, or proof of concept, as some would say. We get a first anniversary on Wednesday, September 6th, because that's when it premiered in Canada. And then on September 8th, when it premiered in the good old US of A, The Man Trap. And so celebrate accordingly.
And I will celebrate on my channel on Friday, on Star Trek Day. We'll be reviewing my favorite movie, Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. And I'm already nervous about it because I want to make that really special. So I'm going to work on that.
Sounds fun.
Mm-hmm. And also we have a special guest here today. We have Sub Commander Tall, who makes some of the best tweets I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you. You're most kind. I'm happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. And for reference to the production of these episodes, some facts come from Star Trek 365, the original series by Paul M. Block and Terry J. Edmond. As I first saw on Cloudburn Times channel with Raquel Briggs, and really what that's done for me is it's made me really excited to read books in order to learn more about these series. And I think that's a really great way to get information. So with that said, let's check out today's episode, By Any Other Name. And so before I begin with the slides, I want to give away the basic summary. So no one has to worry about giving spoilers. If a mood strikes you to go to a scene at the end of the episode, I don't mind. Even though I am going scene by scene with the slides, I don't mind if we go out of order. If there's something you really want to mention. So during Scotty's heroic effort to get Tomar toasted, he provided the Kelvin with the name of each alcoholic beverage that he serves. However, as time passes and many bottles of hard liquor are shared, Scotty has a wee bit of trouble remembering the name of one particular bottle. Thus, when Tomar asks, "What is it?" Is this really the description for this episode? I might have missed a page. Scotty eyeballs it, sniffs it, and tells him it's green. The joke would be transported to Star Trek The Next Generation with James Doohan reprising the role of Scotty nearly a quarter of a century after filming By Any Other Name in the TNG episode Relics. Data, the Enterprise D's android science officer, offers Scotty a drink from the unlabeled bottle of alcohol, and when similarly unable to identify the substance within, he tells Scotty it is green. Of course, that makes sense because Data doesn't use contractions usually. But I want to go get my book because I think that I actually don't have the synopsis here. So I'm going to be right back.
Well, and also I thought that the gag of "it's green," and I may be misremembering this because I don't have the facts to back it up. I swear Quark said it at some point as well. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, that's out of my wheelhouse. I don't know, but it's too good a gag not to revisit.
Well, and when it comes to Star Trek booze, I know that Quark's Bar did have the Saurian brandy bottle. And there are props and libation jokes throughout the entire history of Star Trek. It's great. I don't want to step on the synopsis. So before we keep going, I guess we'll go to the chat and say hello to Franco Walker with the first like, and Comic Relief Crusader. Hail!
Oh, hello, guys. I'll be right there in the chat in a moment, but I found the real synopsis for this episode. But it's kind of funny that I mix things up like that.
Rock and roll.
And so the actual synopsis is, after responding to a fake distress call, the Enterprise is hijacked by a group of Kelvans from the Andromeda Galaxy. Inherently non-humanoid, the Kelvans have taken human form to assess our galaxy's suitability for their purposes. Increasing radiation levels throughout the Kelvan Empire eventually will make life there impossible for their species, and they've decided that ours is ripe for conquest. But before that, they must travel home to make their report. That's where the Enterprise comes in. The Kelvan ship was irreparably damaged during the voyage through the galactic barrier, and with a few adjustments, Kirk's ship will make more than a satisfactory trade-in. Because direct resistance will result in the Kelvans destroying members of the crew, Kirk explores a more subversive way of defeating the invaders. The human forms of the Kelvans have adapted plenty of human weaknesses, which Kirk, Spock, and McCoy and Scotty eagerly exploit. That's what I should have read first. So, By Any Other Name first aired on February 23rd, 1968. And it has, well, before we get into the writing of this episode, I do want to say hello to the chat. There's so much chat. Hey, guys. So we do have the Comic Relief Crusader, Franco Walker with the first like, Sub Commander Tall, looking forward to it. And Suzanne Eckstein is here.
Hey, Suzanne.
Snortapoop is
Hello,
here.
Suzanne.
Wes Cagle. Hey, Wes Cagle.
Hey.
Good to see you all.
Franco Walker said he just finished watching this episode and he gives it an A. It's time. Snorpoopa says it's time for my David Hedison impression. Help me. Did I do that right? I don't know.
You did.
Yamas Queen Jess says Star Trek 4 is my favorite Trek movie. Me too.
Mine too.
Edge of Time says, hello, fellow humans. Do you also enjoy human things? Yeah, and hello to Matt G, Edge of Time. The Phantom Boomer Explorers is here. That's exciting.
Boomer.
Wes Cagle says, I know it's typical, but my favorite Star Trek movie is Wrath of Khan, followed by Undiscovered Country, The Voyage Home, First Contact, Insurrection, and Generations.
Solid list. Solid list, Wes Cagle.
Agreed. Edge of Time warns you, don't feed the bear, Suzanne. To Susan Eckstein. Jill, sorry, Vision sucks. Whom is under Scotty? Oh, this is Sub Commander Tall. He's
Hello.
really, really wonderful.
And if you
It's
go to
amazing.
X and punch in Sub Commander Tall, you get a Romulan, and then you just click follow, and then you get awesomeness.
Oh. You
Yeah,
always have such a nice chat going on here. It's
I
always
really
very
do.
active.
I really love my chat. Gorilla's Random Thought says, "Hey, I'll be lurking like an unwanted redhead stepchild." And Scotty, get your facts right. It was Data. I'll burn your nerd card next time. Wait,
All
what
my
happened?
all
What
my
did you say?
nerd. I don't know. I probably said it with no. I said that there was a possibility that in Deep Space Nine, Quark actually used its green gag. Now I know Data used it in Relics, but I swear that
Data used
Quark
in
used it
Relics.
in DS9.
Did he? Well, we can
It
check.
could be a Mandela effect. I'm not sure.
Well, it's possible.
And by Mandela effect, I mean I'm completely wrong and I made it up.
Well, you could be right though, and I want to see. It
Well,
made me
I wouldn't
curious.
worry. We'll
I'm not
deal with it
worried.
on the Deep Space Nine rewatch.
Who says I'm rewatching all of Deep Space Nine? I don't know.
I'm just
It's a good
making
question.
plans for 2027. That's all.
Yeah, the rate that I go through Star Trek episodes, it would take that long. Susan Eckstein says, "Edge of Time, the bear was taken out by an amazing chat with a live stream with 2K listening." Whoa.
Nice.
What? Crazy. Wes Cagle says, "Oops, forgot about that like button."
Oh, me too. No, I didn't. I did that hours ago. I haven't even seen the show, but I liked it.
I've got a 40-inch. Well, you're on it, so you know you're going to like it.
Eh.
I've got a new 40-inch TV, says Franco Walker. I can see the chat again.
Nice.
And Philip Blair is also here. Great to see you guys. Great to see everyone.
G'day.
Wes Cagle says, "I think both Data and Quark use the line, but don't hold me to that. It feels like something Quark would do, but further investigation is required for that one." But of course, the writing of this episode, it has story credits for Jerome Bixby and a teleplay by DC Fontana and Jerome Bixby. And of course, Bixby also wrote Mirror Mirror. But of course, the writing of the episodes are always a little more complicated than that, with Jerome writing the drafts and DC Fontana completing the final draft, with some revisions by John Meredith Lucas. The reason DC Fontana had to work on the script was because, well, in the Star Trek interview book, Jerome Bixby told Alan Asherman that he wrote the episode more seriously, so that it was a much darker episode with the crew members getting tossed out of airlocks and all of these wild things happening. And I guess it was just too much for the NBC executives. So, and I think there were some problems that Gene Roddenberry had with the scripts too. So there needed to be a rewrite.
Well, Roddenberry, sorry, I was just going to, one teeny tiny factoid, Roddenberry famously added the part about reducing the crewmen to those little dodecahedrons just by looking at this. I think it was some Mexican rock design thing, trinket that he had on his desk, and they're like sitting around. What do we do? How do they neutralize the crew? And well, let's turn them into these things. And he certainly added that bit.
Yeah, he did, definitely. And I will talk more about those geometric solids in a little bit. But if you want to know where the entire idea of the story came from, you have to look at the fact that this episode, it was Gene Roddenberry's first ever science fiction script, was a little bit like this. It was called The Secret Weapon of 117 for Chevron Hall of the Stars in 1956. I have no idea what that is, but the episode had a couple of aliens, with the male one played by Ricardo Montalban.
Oh.
And so these are aliens who also disguise themselves as humans and get overwhelmed by their sensations and experiences. And when I was thinking about this, it also kind of reminds me a bit of Cat's Paw, in terms of getting overwhelmed with being human.
Yeah, good point.
And the episode was direct. Go ahead.
Oh, no, please. I don't want to step on big ups to Mark Daniels.
Yeah, well, you said it. Mark Daniels directed this episode. And go ahead.
Well, and I want to point out before we get any further, because it is something that makes me giggle, is that this is an episode where everyone keeps saying Kelvans, Kelvans, Kelvans. And we all know where that ended up in the new track. We have the Kelvin timeline. And this one, every time I see the Kelvans, I'm just like, Kelvans.
Well, I'm glad you made the joke. Philip Blair says, so Star Trek is not impervious to the Mandela effect. Has this debate been settled?
Phil, I think it's just misremembering. I'm not sure. I'm not 100%. If anybody wants to take a look.
Yeah, if anybody wants to do a little research, let us know if you can find it. Franco Walker says, I'm watching reruns of The Bionic Man. Executive producer Harv Bennett. Oh, okay, that's the Star Trek connection. One of the writers, DC Fontana and Shatner and Takei, have appeared in episodes.
Bionic Man or $6 Million Man?
Yeah, $6 Million Man.
Either way, I've never seen it, but I did love. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan. What's his name? Who played Lee Majors?
Lee Majors, yes.
Sean Carter says, when Rojan threw the dodecahedrons to the ground, only one of those red shirts made their saving throw.
It was a die 20.
Philip Blair says, I get overwhelmed by being human. Definitely relate to that.
And Poopas, yes, I know there is alternate spelling, Kelvin versus Kelvin, but it's still, it sounds, it rolls.
And of course, as stated in the episode, the title of the episode, By Any Other Name, comes from Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 2. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. As Kirk recites to Kalinda, excuse me.
I really enjoy the matte painting to establish, and this is the new matte painting. I don't know how everybody else watched it. I watched on the enhanced special effects, and I always thought that the planet looks like a set, but I really like how this one opens it up. It's digital matte painting, if you will.
And the design of the lake is from Matt Jeffries.
So we got Matt Jeffries and Matt Painting working together.
Exactly. And this is the only episode where we get the cinematographer being Keith Smith, instead of Jerry Finnerman, who he wasn't available. I don't know why. Does anybody know?
I think he was sick, maybe.
He was sick? Okay, that makes sense. And Smith was the director of photography on Mission Impossible that was filmed next door to Star Trek at the Zulu Studio. And Sulu also isn't here again. But he's going to be back next week for all you Sulu fans when we review Return to Tomorrow. And so we're on the planet. And Yeoman Thompson, we don't get her for very long, but she's played by Julie Cobb. And about Shatner, she said, Shatner was wonderful. He was very serious about the work, but otherwise funny and sweet and caring. Very nice.
Well, and also Shay.
And Shay, correct.
I really appreciate, I appreciate Shay, and this is, and I know it's been said a million times, just in terms of the diversity of Star Trek in the 1960s, but there's an emotional impact between Shay and Thompson. And I do really, I like Shay as a character. It's, he never shows up again, but it's great. The respect, again, addressing racism and sexism and all of the inclusionary things that are happening in the 1960s. It's great.
And he's played by Carol Byrne. Yes, I do like his character too. He doesn't have that many lines, but whatever he does have, he makes it believable.
Yeah.
I feel like he's there to protect.
And Kirk's not scolding him like Garavik Like he's like, no, I know, but what about the paralysis field? Also, because we didn't get a first name for Shay, Jill, you asked me to give him one.
Yes, I did.
I would like to call him Calvin, and that's why he was spared. The Kelvans like Calvin.
Wow, that's a good one. You really thought that out very well. Thank you.
I did. You could read my 6-page PDF on the creation of Calvin Shay.
I think this is a very pretty planet. Even though they didn't get to film on location, they filmed on set instead of location, rather. I still think it was well done.
And I think Thompson, obviously Leah, I think that she's really cute. Like, part of the reason why I like this episode so much is all of the ladies in this episode are really attractive, and there are a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they have paralysis field belts.
I wish I had seen the original special effects for it, though.
I'm not sure I've seen I haven't seen the remastered because that painting we saw, the digital painting, that was unknown to me. I think I've only ever seen this episode with the original effects. So I'm curious what else will pop up.
Yeah, and if you notice any of those differences, please tell me. At the end, I will be looking at the differences in the remaster and the original, because I like to see that too.
I thought it was odd that when they're paralyzed and frozen, only William Shatner can move his eyes.
Was there a reason for that?
I don't know. Not within the script or within the episode. They never explained, but he's obviously moving his eyes left and right and reacting to what the guy's saying. But
yeah,
the rest of them are not. The rest of them are acting like they're frozen and their eyes are still.
But you could still see everybody breathing and everything, so
yes.
It's clear they're paralyzed, but they're not completely out of it.
Right.
And big ups to Warren Stevens, I believe is the gentleman's name, who plays Rojan. Phantom Boomer in the chat says, yeah, is that Doc from Forbidden Planet? Yes.
Okay. The AI show says, I think you mean the $6 Million Man. And Franco Walker says, but I would have run out of characters to type my message if I put $6 Million Man. And Philip Blair says, Sasquatch episode of $6 Million Man is great.
There's more than one, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There were multiple Sasquatch episodes?
And multiple Sasquatch. The young Andre the Giant, right, was the first one.
It even carried over to the Bionic Woman.
It was the 70s.
Oh, yeah, that's what Franco Walker says. That's why they call the sequel the Bionic Woman. It's easier to say. Calvin the Kelvin. Oh, no, he's not a Kelvin. He was adopted into the Kelvans because his name is Calvin. Franco Walker says, I remember them introducing the bionic dog and the bionic boy.
His boy, Elroy.
Was that a Wonder Bra? Says Philip Blair.
Oh, Phil, no, wait. Okay, so it's really weird because Kalinda obviously doesn't wear a bra because of the back. And again, like her open back uniform was enticing to me when I saw it as a young lad. But then I noticed today, Drea, who is at the helm on the bridge of the Enterprise, she wears a bra, and it is unsightly. So what I'm saying, as a gentleman advising the fashions of women, if you are wearing a low back dress, get a strapless bra. Like, I'm just saying, it looks weird if I can see your back and then there's a bra strap.
All right. Fashion advice from Scotty R37. Edge of Time says, I also toss purple 20s. What?
The dice roll.
Oh, okay. There's going to be a lot of D&D stuff in the chat. I got to figure it out. The AI show says, if this episode were made in 2023, I'm Rojan. Welcome to the Joe Rogan experience.
Well, Rogen has seen UFOs, so I think Joe Rogan's experience would be great.
I think it's pronounced Rohan.
No, he says Rogen.
Okay.
If this were Spanish, you would be completely correct.
But they're Kelvin.
But they're not Mexican. Despite their Mexican dice, they are not Mexican.
They're illegally invading. Never mind.
Well, the galaxy built a wall naturally.
That's right.
Oh, the galactic barrier.
Yes. And I really enjoy that. I enjoy that they reference the galactic barrier, and Kirk is like, I know, we've been there. Just sort of offhandedly, which is, again, with the continuity of the series, which is great.
Yeah, very unusual. Yeah, and there's 2 moments. I'm sure we'll get to them. But yeah, really unusual for Star Trek episodes to refer to other Star Trek episodes.
And it does it twice in this episode. You must be joking. You're in command?
Oh,
I like how...
Sorry,
I was just going to say, I like how Spock and McCoy are sort of paused mid-argument. I mean, I don't really think they would have been having an argument at that point, but it's too good. It looks really amusing.
Why not? They're always having an argument. It makes sense to me. I like it too. But I also like how Spock, when he is unpaused, when he is unparalyzed, he's not upset. Of course, he's not upset because he's Vulcan, but he's just very fascinated by it. The idea of being paralyzed. And so DC Fontana worked with somebody called Joan Pierce of the DeForest Research. Knowing this was a rush job to keep the cameras rolling. And Pierce said about the paralyzing, if all the nerve impulses are paralyzed, the organism will die because the automatic as well as the voluntary muscles will be affected. Suggest a selective field that neutralizes nerve impulses to voluntary muscles. So they changed it in order to not kill the crew. That's nice.
And it's this is an episode that sort of switches gear because we have to find the projector. And then the crew is completely overpowered. It's fantastic. I like it. It changes the direction of the episode as it goes along because you're sort of waiting for the formulaic, all right, we've been captured, we got to go find the thing. Well, I'll talk it out of its robot ways or whatever. And it's like, no, you're completely overpowered. You have to do something different.
Well, yes, they definitely take what is a very typical sci-fi trope and make it different. And so I do like it for that. Of hey, we're gonna conquer you, but there are some twists. Gorilla says Wes Cagle, there is a references to Alderian whiskey in Deep Space Nine, but it's called by name, not by description.
Aldebaran whiskey. I'll burn your fan card. Uh-oh. There's a forklift backing up.
Okay, so Pop Culture Curator, is that your cue to give us your review of this episode? Of the potential Andromeda invasion?
Sorry, my ride's here, guys. I apologize.
Okay. Do you have any time to give us your
rating? I give it the rating outside, but I'll give it a B. I like the episode, but I had a few problems with it, but I wish I had more time, but I don't. They're waiting for me. But thank you, Jill.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay.
Take care, everyone.
Hope it all goes well.
Cheers, Pop Culture. And if you do get an opportunity, drop your review in the comments on the rerun. Anyway, we wish him the best of luck.
Yes.
And
good
as
luck,
always,
Pop Culture Curator.
Live long and prosper.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Does Spock ever get feisty? Says Philip Blair.
Sure.
He can.
Yes.
I mean,
Not in this
what-
one.
yeah.
How do you mean feisty?
Yeah. Do you just mean sort of sassy, or do you mean frisky?
Frisky.
I think he.
Well,
Yeah. Well,
Frisky.
Ponfar, obviously, under the
This side of
the
paradise?
Psy water, this side of paradise. Yeah, he gets
Yeah.
feisty. Star Trek 3, he gets making with the love with Lieutenant Savick.
made some eyes at Droxine
Wow.
in the Cloudminders, but
Oh yeah. Oh, and then he goes back and sees Zarabeth.
they're
in,
best. Yes.
All Our Yesterdays. I've eaten animal flesh and I've enjoyed it.
Oh yeah,
So
there's
yes,
that.
many times.
I don't know about Star Trek 3, but that's a different conversation. Philip
He
Blair
was without
says,
mind. He was only base impulse. So I will forgive him that transgression.
Didn't one of the Voyager probes hit some kind of firewall?
Like the barrier to the galaxy thing. Is that what they mean?
I don't know. Maybe the
Like
Did it?
V'ger? No, V'ger
like
went
the
into
real
what
like
they
no,
would have.
I think Philip Blair's talking about the real Voyager probe when it
Oh.
left our solar system. What
Are we
happened
talking
to
about
it?
like a radiation belt? Like is it the Kepler
Hmm.
radiation field?
That's a
No.
good question. I don't know. AI Show says somebody who tried to. He tried running for president of the Federation. He didn't win. Did badly with Vulcans. Oh, Spock. Oh, okay.
I pulled very well with Vulcans. The best, really. No one's pulled better with Vulcans. That's a
Dissecting.
That's a bad Trump impression. I'm sorry. everybody.
Oh, is that what that
That's
was?
okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so sorry.
Dissecting sneeze line was David Gerald, methinks.
Yeah, pretty sure.
What do you mean by that? I'm missing.
Oh, there was a
something.
comment earlier that the idea of a barrier to the galaxy was ridiculous. And the earlier comment said somebody compared it to bisecting a sneeze. And that line was David Gerald was, well, there's a little anecdote about Isaac Asimov really didn't like
Uh-huh.
the idea of the barrier, but then I guess Sam Peoples, who wrote the original Where No Man Has Gone Before script, sort of argued the case, and Asimov was subdued. But David Gerald, anyway, in his usual witty way, said the idea of a barrier is like dissecting a sneeze, which I don't understand at all, but I think that's the point. It doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Bird of
Well-
prey, Kapla. I hope your trains came on time today.
Well, that's interesting. I know that Asimov was a big Star Trek fan, so it's good to hear when he has some criticisms. He didn't like that
Oh,
plot
yeah.
device then.
Yeah, no, I mean, he absolutely was a fan, but he was also not afraid of letting you know what he thought.
Mm. And hello to Disney Sheepherder. And Kapla to
good
Bird
luck
of
at
Prey
work.
5. Oh yeah. Gorilla's Random Thought says you can't burn it because autocorrect automatically changes it because they don't recognize the word. Huh? I don't know. I must have missed something. Feisty. Likes losing his temper. Spock gets outright peeved in Star Trek 6, says Sean Carter.
Indeed.
True. Hey, Sean.
Hmm.
But that's also one of the things that Spock was sort of expressing in Star Trek 6 is that logic is the beginning of wisdom, not the end of it. And so he's fully incorporated his human half with his Vulcan half, thusly he's acknowledging of his of his human emotions and willing to sort of, I wouldn't say embrace, but interact with them.
Mm-hmm. While still being in control.
Mm-hmm.
Something penetrating from the planet.
Highly advanced, these Kelvans. They can do anything they want.
They can. They just freeze everybody and take over the ship. It seems like all is lost.
I love these jumpsuits. You know, I mean, I think I'd seen this show so many times before I realized that these are the same suits that they, you know, like in the miners on Janus 6 or the jumpsuits that were all green on the side of Paradise. These jumpsuits come back over and over again. I love it.
I do too. For no reason, I feel like she would make a really great Trill for later.
I was thinking the
wow.
same thing.
Excellent.
Wow.
Yeah, no joke. I was like, oh, my stars. It looks like Terry Farrell.
That's exactly what I was thinking also.
Eddie Paskey, everybody. Big round of applause for Eddie Paskey as Mr. Leslie. He died, but he came back. That's how popular Eddie Paskey was.
Yeah, you can't keep a good Leslie
Red shirt
down.
down, yeah.
Oh my God, Kalinda is a smoke show. I forget the actress's name. She was a Swedish model, and one of my Barbara Boucher. Thank you so much. And she was in other things that I've seen that I didn't research or look up, but amazing. I think that this episode is the hottest episode of Star Trek, the original series, simply because of the cheesecake on display. From Thompson to Kalinda to Drea, and also the ever adorable and smoke hot Nichelle Nichols. There is a moment of incredible acting that Nichelle provides later.
Before she gets turned into a dodecahedron.
Yes.
Oh, I don't remember what it is.
So they did put some thought into why it takes 300 years. So Pierce said if warp 14 equals 8,192 times the speed of light, then the precise figure announced by Mr. Scott of 280 years will enable time to travel at warp 14 for a total distance of, well, I'll just shorten this, 2.2 million light years, slightly farther than the actual distance to, so that's approximate, to the nebula in Andromeda M31. M31 is 2.2 million light years distance, the furthest object visible to the naked eye.
Yeah, I mean, the point is that they thought about it. I mean, rather than like, like a early Buck Rogers thing where they could just say it's a zillion miles away or something. They actually were, trying to be accurate with some of this stuff, which is great.
Well, you know what they need. I just wish the Kelvans had a mycelial network.
Yeah. Oh my heavens.
That's it. I'm done. If only Spock knew about it. Okay, now I'm done. Oh, Leah Thompson.
Yeah.
I've always been partial to brunettes.
Looks like Gidget a bit, like a young Sally Field kind of.
I know, and she is she's engaging when she talks to Kirk, and Kirk is reassuring, and so there's emotional impact.
Yeah.
To the loss of a crewman.
It is, yeah. Kirk is definitely William Shatner does a great job of portraying a captain who is distressed at the loss of not only the murder of Yeoman
Leah
Thompson, and also when all of his crew are turned into the geometric shapes.
Oh, that's great. When he starts pounding the desk, that's great.
And so their home is screwed, so they're taking over Milky Way, I guess.
Well, and this is my biggest problem with the episode. And I still will.
Why? Because they don't come back later?
No. Because Kirk says, you don't have to do this by force. We can go to the Federation. We can make something happen so that you can colonize some of the planets. If your civilization is in distress, we can accommodate you in this galaxy.
Yeah, you don't have to turn to conquering anything. We'll give you some planets to live.
And Rojan says no.
Yeah, he does.
We're conquerors. We're not gonna do that. Flash forward to the end of the episode, and Kirk says the exact same thing. And Rojan is like, really?
Okay.
You do that? Oh, thank you.
You'd still do that, even though
he's been persuaded, though. I mean, he's had this experience of, being human and realizing, well, that, they're basically going to be human by the time they got back. And, maybe it just makes more sense to live this way. But I hear you. It does seem like a little bit too easy of an out. But by the way, I love that line. I've used it playing Settlers of Catan with my family when I'm actually in a willing position. We do not, what is it? We do not colonize. We conquer. We rule.
You made it come out my nose. Stop it, Subcommander.
I talk about being uncomfortable on a planet. Okay, so this is the beginning. Yes.
Who sings that that country song, Wide Open Spaces?
Okay. Oh, give me land, lots of stars, under starry skies above. That one? Or no?
Oh, no, there's wide. No, but that's a good one too. But like the Kelvans are completely uncomfortable in all of this openness. It will be nice to be in the comfort of four walls again.
Mm.
And then McCoy says, "Well, that planet that you were living on seemed kind of nice. Yeah, except for the fact that they hated it."
yeah, it's true.
This is where we get our other reference to a past Star Trek episode in which Spock was able to trick a guard into thinking that they had escaped, and so that they could actually escape. And so
Taste of Armageddon?
Yes, a Taste of Armageddon on Eminiar
7.
What about your General Order 24?
This is probably one of my favorites. This is probably one of my favorites because this is the part where only Spock gets to see what the aliens really look like.
They save on special effects that way, where he just gives that wonderful description.
Yes. Yes, they have 100 arms apparently.
Yeah, the tentacles and the mathematical equations and all this, this blur of sensations that he gets in this brief contact with the young Barbara Boucher.
Well, and it's also nice to see sort of Spock is thwarted and lured into the situation. Like he does make the connection and you think it's going to work. Then he's thrown back by the overwhelming mental acuity of Kalinda. And she is subdued voluntarily just to have them captured. Again. Anyway.
Well, and for the
bye, Leah Thompson. We hardly knew you.
Yes, and for the escape attempt, Captain Kirk must be punished with 2 of his crew being reduced to well, I've always called it dodecahedron 2, but I learned a new word in learning more about this episode, and it's here in the 365 book, so I'm going to read it as soon as we get to the shapes. There.
Hey, Nar. There we are.
So this is the essence of what they were, the flesh and brain and what you call the personality distilled down into these compact shapes, says Rojan. To the general public, the curious geometric objects that litter the corridors of the Enterprise after the Kelvans have had their way with Kirk's crew may look like oversized dice from a board game. Or to the somewhat better educated members of the audience, dodecahedrons, solid figures with 12 faces. To the much better educated members of the audience, they are referred to as cuboctahedrons, polyhedrons whose faces consist of 6 equal squares and 8 equilateral triangles. To the Star Trek writers, however, they were a clever way to temporarily get rid of the Enterprise crew. After Rojan and his band of Kelvans take over the Enterprise, they required the services of just 4 crewmen, Kirk, Spock, Scotty, and McCoy. So what were the writers supposed to do with the other 425? Gilman Thompson having been dispatched by Rojan during Act 1, They didn't want to have the Kelvans kill anyone else, and beaming everyone down to the planet was neither efficient nor time effective. According to DC Fontana, it was Gene Roddenberry who hit upon the solution when she went to his office to ask for some input. As he listened to her explain the problem, Roddenberry toyed with an onyx paperweight that sat on his desk. After a moment of thought, he suggested that the Kelvans transform the crew into small objects that would still contain their base essence. Perhaps objects that looked something like his paperweight, which was, of course, a dodecahedron. While these geometric objects may not have been the most interesting props ever created for Star Trek, they did resonate with certain members of the public, particularly math majors like them. References to the multifaceted, transformed crew members and by any other name seem to abound on math-oriented internet sites. TV writers like them too, characters in a segment of Good Eats, a humorous semi-scientific cooking show, referred to the Star Trek cuboctahedrals in a memorable episode about lentils. In order to launch a discussion about the basic components of the human body and the need for certain proteins. And so that's how that happened.
I'm glad they refrained from trying to pronounce that word in the course of this episode. I think they would have had to cut some stuff by the end because that is a mouthful. Baka, Tubaka, Raka.
I have to be looking at the word to read it. I was happy with knowing dodecahedron, so knowing there was a more specific word for it was very fun to find out for me. And I wasn't a math major, I was a computer science major, but a math minor. And I had never heard of that shape.
See, whenever I describe this episode to my friends, I'm just like, do you ever see that episode where the crew is turned into effed up squares?
Squares? You don't even say cubes.
I don't even know what the hell these are. I know they're made of styrofoam. And, Ensign Thompson, she died.
Well, I went a little further than that, and I found a video about these shapes and everything.
Oh.
I don't know.
Is it vector? I want to see some vector CGI.
Yeah, actually.
No, I was joking. I can't believe it's actually a thing.
I don't know where I put it though. I lost it. So you guys are gonna get spared the math lesson.
Oh no, but I love the math lessons.
If I find it, I'll play it.
Okay, take your time.
There's plenty of time.
It's weird that everybody's personality goes into the same geometric shape, though.
The flesh and brain distilled down into these compact shapes.
I also thought it was interesting that they don't say soul. They say personality.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
I wonder if at one point it did say soul, and that was just a change by someone or other, just to feel a little more scientific.
Yeah.
And so Lieutenant Shea was restored, and this is the shot from before he was turned into cubic form.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem particularly relieved about it.
Well, he wouldn't know any difference, really.
Well, he wasn't given a chance to show what his reaction would be since they just recycled a previous shot.
As far as he knows, he was about to die.
Yes.
And then when he gets returned, he's like, so what happened? Where did Leah go?
I've always said this shot here is like the face you make when you go into the pantry to get out the Doritos and you find out your roommate has eaten them all. There's just crumbs at the bottom of the bag. It's the same face. No. Yep, that's the face.
There it is. That's the one you wanted. Hear it.
Oh, we have a captain's log.
We have a captain's log. We do have a captain's log. Let me get that for you. I have it here.
But snarkiness aside, it is nice to see. I mean, Shatner does a good job of, showing concern. I mean, you have these crew members who die all the time. That it's, it's kind of a almost laughable. But he always plays it with a lot of sincerity.
Well, and I think that's one of the.
loss.
And I agree with you. I think that's one of the staples of the original series, and something that gets lost later on is, and never mind, I don't want to talk about later on, but I do appreciate that the death of any crewman is tragic. It is a weight to be felt throughout the episode. And I think that's something, the value of life is something that I, because I learned everything from television. Star Trek taught me, it's like, you know what, when a person dies, come on. Have some emotionals. Anyway, Captain Kirk says, Captain's log, stardate 4657.5. Work is proceeding on the Enterprise as my crew is forced to make the required changes in the ship for intergalactic travel. I can't forget the picture of Yeoman Thompson, crushed to a handful of dust.
And Snortopoopas Cuber in the chat says, all aliens get their jumpsuits from the Galactic Outpost thrift store. Philip Blair says, rather annoying for history nerds whose minds always start imagining what may be the real best ever to Wes Cagle. Okay. Everything that he does involves or thinks of is the best ever.
It's the best. You'll never see better. Come on. Again, I'm terrible at imitating Americans.
Snortopoopas says Barbara Boucher was in the opening scenes of In the Harm's Way 1965 with John Wayne. Her character was the cheating wife of Kirk Douglas's character and had a brief naked back scene.
Is that okay? So that was 1965. Maybe that's why she was cast in this episode, because she has a very adorable back.
Yeah, her back is prominently featured in this episode too.
You could just see Gene Kuhn or John Meredith Lucas or whoever pounding his desk like, I need pictures of the best backs in Hollywood, and she's at the top of the list. Okay, it'll be her. That's great.
And then I can only imagine Gene Roddenberry saying, let me test this back out for myself. I need to see it in action.
Oh my God.
Because Gene Roddenberry was a pervert, so.
Well, yeah, he was. He definitely did think about that stuff. Branko Walker says, good old Kirk, hitting women again. And so he's referring to the karate chop action that Kalinda gets from Captain Kirk at one point on her neck.
Well, and what was the name of the lady, the green hair lady? The Pettyjohn woman?
Oh, Angelique Pettyjohn, yeah.
Yeah, I forget her name.
Yeah, you got it, Angelique Pettyjohn.
No, I forget the character's name.
Oh God, like Shauna.
She was a drill thrall. That's all.
Shauna, I think.
Shauna, sure.
Shauna, no.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Shauna.
Yeah. Shauna.
Well,
she got it, so you
got it.
Kirk's all about beating up ladies in this season.
You know what? And yet, very early in the series, he was saying to Charlie X, there is no right way to hit a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And James Caserta is right, similar to Cat's Paw. What?
It is, but, Sylvia was kind of a dummy.
Yeah, right. This is way better than Cat's Paw. But Cat's Paw is our Halloween episode. And personal side note, my mom knows I like Star Trek, and she wants to decorate my house for my children, and she's gonna decorate it like Cat's Paw, apparently.
Oh.
So that's gonna be fun.
Is she gonna get like an Enterprise in a silicone rectangular prism?
I don't know. I think that might be my job. I'm gonna
get a wand
or a giant cat,
a transmuter.
Yeah, there's gonna be a cat. There's got to be witches. There's got to be a skeleton.
You're gonna get a transmuter. Anyway, sorry.
A transmuter, yes. I need a
transmuter. Get a panther.
Sure.
Rent a panther.
That's a great idea.
Oh man, that is an awesome idea.
It's like $200.
Anyway, a real panther. No.
Yeah.
And then you just let it go when you're done. And
Yeah, just let it go. Let it roam free.
The AI show says with dodecahedrons, this episode should have really been called by any other shape.
Mm-hmm.
it's
Wow,
true.
hey!
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, there is an essential similarity between this and Cat's Paw with just the idea that you have these very different aliens, in fact, from other galaxies, but upon assuming human form, they become sort of subject to unintended human side effects and dealing with human emotions and that kind of thing. So, I mean, that is quite similar between the two, although the rest of the stories are quite different.
Mm-hmm. And Devil Flyer, hello to Devil Flyer Momentum. He says, hey, Jill. And Frankel Walker reminds you, don't forget the poll. Yes, if you remember this episode and you would like to rate it, please let me know what you think of it. Snorpoopus Cuber says, I've always wondered why the Federation didn't leave Kelvin modifications of the Enterprise in place. Did they not? Did the Kelvins undo them so the Federation couldn't use the technology? I think there's something in that, in the continuity of where no one has gone before the TNG episode. So I suppose when, let's see, where is it? The Federation technology by that point has matched the Kelvins, because they explained that a return trip to the Milky Way from the Triangulum Galaxy would take 300 years and maximum warp the same amount of time. Oh, and here's the dodecahedron video that I had.
Ooh.
I don't know if you guys are going to like it, but it's like
probably not, but let's roll it.
Okay. Why not? And share audio.
Going to draw the cube octahedron projected from 3 dimensions onto the flat plane. Marco, I'm going to draw
I'll skip through it, but then that makes it load. I can't skip through it then. I just wanted to skip through it.
Kind of get it from the thing on the top a little bit. Just like unfolding this thing.
Oh no, it's not playing. See, I should have downloaded it. Why is it? It's loading, but it's not playing.
You'll get it in just 300 years, which is a lot faster than.
Today we're going to first equilateral triangle. Every angle is 60 degrees, equal lengths. I'm going to interpret.
Oh man, I guess I can't play it.
Well, when it comes down to it, I'm a bigger fan of isosceles.
But it's kind of cool because he draws the Star of David, and then he draws a hexagon around it. And I thought it was a really cool way to learn how to draw this in the 2D in 2 dimensions, projecting the shadow of 3 dimensions.
You know what? It kind of reminds me of a 2-dimensional being turned into a 3-dimensional from the tests at the beginning of Star Trek 4. And it's like, can you adjust the sine wave or the speed of this starship so that protons can pass through it and antiprotons cannot? It's fun. It's great. Although I do enjoy.
Today we're going to draw.
Well, let's see if we can figure it out. Oh, okay.
Oh man, it looks like a flower.
3, 4, 5, and one more here. 6.
I want to draw this right now. Oh, Jill, can you drop this in the private chat so I can check it later?
Today.
yeah, I can. Actually, I'll put it in the regular chat in case anybody was interested in that.
That makes sense.
Because I don't know why it won't play for me right now. Very mean of it. Anyway.
But it's really cool. Like I enjoy drawing 3-dimensional objects in wireframe. I have since I was in grade school when I was doodling instead of learning. And I learned more from my doodles than the learns. So that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I wanted to know more about the shape of which I just learned the name of. Because
if you'll excuse me for just one moment
myself.
I have to go take a dodecahedron or gelogia. I don't know what. Anyway.
Well, you said gelogia. There's something I have to do if you say gelogia.
Gelogia! Gelogia!
It doesn't happen often, so when it does, gotta take advantage. Hail Stream Elements says, and it is good to be nice to our they're not quite our robot overlords yet, but soon enough. Stream Elements is sharing Scotty R37's Twitter as he is away.
Good.
It's a lot of his Twitter is lots of fun. Absurd fun.
We just followed each other.
Nice. Captain Fandom Nerd says hello. Spock, if you reverse the circuits on McCoy's neuroanalyzer, can you set up a counterfield to jam the paralysis projector? I like this idea that they could use their technology to fight against the technology of a superior aliens who have superior technology can still be defeated with some ingenuity.
So did they take on human shape when they landed on this planet, or had they taken on human shape en route before they crashed in anticipation of like dealing with the Federation?
They had to have found out about humanity before they could take their form. But I don't know which point that occurred. That is a good question. True.
Yeah, they look they had a guide for putting them back together, unlike Vina. They look pretty well established.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. So they were able to steady the form well enough. And the Telosians couldn't even do it. So these guys are pretty smart.
It's like they're trying all the tropes to get out of jail. The telepathic Spock, and then someone pretending they're sick.
Oh yeah, and they do that a lot. Pretending they're sick. They did that in I Mud. I'm sure other episodes.
They do it in season 2. I mean, it's what I've said about Gene Kun. I mean, I think it's his sort of reign was the best, but there was a certain rut they were in. I mean, they did tend to recycle ideas sometimes, and they're good ideas, but you kind of come across them a lot. I mean, like I said, I think it is the best stretch. But one thing I like, and I'm looking forward to season 3, is that even though, a lot of those episodes miss the mark, some of them are very just different, very creative. I mean, they're trying different kinds of things, even if they're not quite making it work all the time.
Even if they are repeating a trope, it's giving Spock another Vulcan ability, which I don't mind. Yeah. I love seeing that. So Vulcans apparently have the ability to put themselves into a trance. And
I can do that. I'm able to do that when my wife talks about like our medical insurance. I go into that trance. I wake up like 20 minutes later, not having heard anything, and it's very restful.
But yeah, and then at the end of it, you've got a new insurance plan
that I don't understand at all.
Well, at least she's there to take care of you.
Yes.
And if he knows he's going to have this reaction, I wonder why he didn't sit down to begin with.
Good point.
But it pulls the Kelvans. So it works out.
Oh, good. We see the gurney again. It's in a couple episodes. That 23rd century advanced gurney.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Chapel gets reprimanded here. Don't argue, nurse. Just get it. The stocoline.
Yeah, I wonder what stocoline is. I wonder if that's just like a placebo-y kind of thing. And she's like, why are you asking me to get that?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a reason why she's questioning it.
Yeah. Notice how all the Kelvans are really, their makeup is very pale and kind of ashy.
I did notice that. What do you think?
Then, well, later on, as they become more human on the ship and they're being sort of goaded by the Enterprise crew, they start to take on a more natural skin tone. So Rojam by the end looks more like the Marlboro Man, and then at the beginning he's like a kind of a zombie, but it was deliberate. It wasn't like a goof. They wanted them to look sort of more alien and ashy to begin with, and then as they felt the flow of feelings and human emotions rush through them, they get more flushed human tone.
You know, for whatever reason, I did notice how pale they were at the beginning, but I didn't make that connection. So thank you for that. Franco Walker says, I think they took human form when they saw the landing party.
Mm.
Oh, that's some quick work. Philip Blair says scientists have figured out how wombats poop in cubes. Philip Blair, what? Stokeline says stored poop is cube rare, but doctor, that's for treating hemorrhoids.
well, if you're passing cubes, you need that stokeline, I guess.
I guess so.
Or dodecahedrons.
Yes, thank you, Franco Walker, for reminding me. Whenever I switch screens, sometimes I forget to put the slides back on. Vampires are very pale, says Philip Blair. Yeah, indeed they are. Stokeline, so we don't really know what stokeline is about, except that McCoy says it's like a multivitamin, but that's just what he tells the alien. And I guess, yeah, the Tomar. Mm-hmm. So Spock's gonna be fine, of course, because he was never hurt to begin with.
Yep.
And so, of course, we have this. We've had this before, where the aliens are like, "Hey, what? We're conquering you. Why aren't you just accepting it? This is life now."
Yeah, it's that indomitable human will. Which I'm not sure is really a thing, but I like the idea.
I do too.
If Barbara Boucher was conquering me, I probably wouldn't fight too much, or the Telosians were giving me a nice relaxing life, I'd probably say, well, this works for me. But I like the idea that people like Captain Kirk anyway instinctively dislike captivity and always want their freedom.
That's true. There would be people who would accept those kinds of right, because the Telosians do put you in kind of a holodeck where you get to have whatever you want. And you get to eat whatever you want. Your favorite foods all the time. I don't see a problem with that either. Sounds fun. And all you have to do is be someone else's entertainment.
It's worth it.
Mm-hmm. And possibly help them reform their planet if they capture enough.
And think of you could have all the nourishing protein complexes you could drink.
Mm-hmm. But it would actually taste good because you can trick your brain into eating a sushi dinner instead of what it really is.
Now we got to refer to the title of the episode within the episode.
I don't do that a lot, but this episode they do. A quote from Shakespeare, since it's a type of flower. He doesn't know what kind of flower, so he thinks of Shakespeare.
And I guess it's supposed to kind of refer to the idea that even though they're actually aliens, once they have taken human form, then it doesn't matter that they're called Kelvans, but they're still just as, well, not as sweet, but they're still just as human as humans are.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's what happens with these aliens with the 100 tentacles. They go from being completely alien at the beginning of the episode, like you said, they had a different color, and they become less alien by the end.
Hmm.
And and McCoy found the power source. And they're gonna jam the power source for. Okay, so then they won't be paralyzed any longer.
Oh, is that it? Those water bottles on there?
Oh, that's the power source.
I guess
this
it
whole
is.
episode, I watched it and I was like, "Where's the power source?" I didn't realize it was these. As you
I guess
call
it's
them,
portable. I mean, it was on the planet. Oh, and look it's so interesting to see Shatner in the background, like in the background, still having to do some acting, but you not the focus of the scene at all. I mean, you almost never see that.
I didn't even notice that watching this episode. Thank you for pointing it out.
I guess he's like distracting them.
Oh no. Okay, so I guess they can't figure out how to stop this.
They can't, so they're going to, but they can figure out, they think, how to self-destruct or do something that's going to interact with this thing. They can't shut it off, but they can interact the Enterprise's engines with it, so the ship would blow up and at least the Kelvans would be stopped. So
is this the first time they've come up with the idea to self-destruct the ship to
I
save?
think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's very famously done in Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, and then in the movies, the same code, 000 destruct 0 sequence. But I think this is the first time they actually made an effort to do it.
And it's not it's a good idea, but I do like that Kirk doesn't take that for an answer.
He doesn't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is such a weird observation that I had, but Spock and Scotty meet Kirk in the corridor, and then they just sort of acknowledge each other and then keep going because they're all going to the turbo lift, and they don't even say anything, and they're just like, well, we're all going to the bridge, so all right, let's go. And I thought it was great because I was comparing it to other things where the direction would say, okay, everybody stops, talks about what they're going to do, and then moves on their way, as opposed to, no, we all know what we're doing. Let's just keep going. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. People doing their jobs is one of my favorite things about Star Trek. And so I like how there's still a sense of urgency in the process. Hey, Drea. And Walter. Sorry, Pavel.
Yeah, so they're approaching the barrier.
I want to play poker with Scotty, because him sitting there sweating with his finger over the single button. And it's like, I'm gonna press it.
So, Sub-Commander Tall, can you read the other captain's log for this episode?
Oh, yes, indeed. Where is that's in the chat?
Oh, wait a minute. That's not it. That's not the right one. Hold on. That's the same one from earlier. Here it is.
Oh, yes.
Let me copy it and then paste. There it is.
Okay. Captain's log, stardate 4658.9. With the Enterprise under control of the Kelvans, we are approaching the energy barrier at the edge of our galaxy. Spock and Scotty have devised a suicide plan to stop the Kelvans. They have rigged the ship to explode on my signal.
And there he is, just ready to press that button.
Oh, I'm going to press it.
He's ready for it.
I like it's all the same lines as in Where No Man Is, radiation negative, whatever negative. He says those same lines quite differently, but he says those same lines in Where No Man Has Gone Before.
And that's good continuity. They actually paid attention.
Yeah.
But it makes sense because Bixby wrote it, and he wrote Mirror Mirror, which is another well-written episode. And it showed a lot of care.
And in the remaster, they're sort of doing the same special effects, which is great.
Yes.
Although,
I mean, they just use the identical effects from Where No Man Has Gone Before in this episode for this sequence, but I presume they did something a little different here. For the
it would have been
remaster.
great if somebody got some like telekinetic powers, though.
Wonder why they don't. That would be fun. That'd be one way to defeat the aliens.
That's
yes,
true.
but at what cost? Silver-eyed god people.
Several systems are out, and then life support systems on emergency power. Okay. What neutralizing operation? Oh, right. This is where he turns everybody. He's like, we don't need your crew, so you're all going to be dodecahedrons. And it makes sense because for 300 years, of course, the crew wouldn't survive that entire time anyway.
Wait, there it is. Go back.
Hmm.
One more. There it is. So Drea's got to wear a bra for some reason, but Kalinda, she's fine. She's cool.
Well, I think Drea has more reason to need one.
An ample bosom.
Well, I didn't notice. You said there was a problem with it. I didn't even notice it. It looked fine to me.
I just don't understand the difference in uniform between the two female Kelvans.
Well, she wanted more support.
Clearly. But I do like this is sort of a situation, and I think that Nichelle Nichols does a great acting job, and it could be editing and direction and what have you. But Uhura looking back and forth between Rojan and Kirk and being like, what do I do? You're going to dodecahedron me. What do I do? And it's just
Right. We have no need for communication. And there she goes. Bye. Also, Chekhov also goes.
He's very casual. He's very relaxed.
Well,
Chekhov or Rojan?
Chekhov.
Yeah.
Chekhov accepted his fate. Oh,
Yeah.
I love the little tablet that's right there next to the shape.
Well, and I thought it was a brilliant use of the sound effect to replace the visual special effect, because obviously it would have cost something. And so you get to see Drea press the remote control, the paralyzer, the dodecahedron machine, and then you pan over to the three crewmen, and it's like, yeah, we know what happened.
And so he's struggling with having to see all of his crew gone. He knows that what's going on.
That was a busy corridor when it happened. My goodness. It's like 10 people all squished together there.
Those were probably the 10 people that were going to be pushed out of the airlock. Instead, they put the 10 people on the ground. In the original script, it was darker and more people died.
Well, and then McCoy. I heard we could have blown up. Why didn't you do it? Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Scotty tells me that you could have destroyed the ship and the barrier. Why didn't you? I couldn't. If that was your only chance to stop, because McCoy, of course, is thinking about the rest of the galaxy, the rest of the Federation, the rest of everybody.
Yeah.
They reduced the whole crew. Like, I love that pounding on the table. The frustration.
And oh, what's the name of this alien? He's like, I don't understand why you eat. And so then he eats.
Oh, what's
Tamar.
Oh,
is this Tamar or the other
Yeah,
guy?
this is Tomar. Yeah,
Tomar.
this is Tomar. You're right. This is it. This is the guy. This is my favorite. McCoy gets him some food. And McCoy says if he keeps eating like that, he's going to need a diet. gluttony joke.
And this is part of the reason why I fell in love with Star Trek in the first place, is because whatever those food cubes are, I want them.
Yeah, Tomar makes them look delicious.
Yeah, that's good acting.
Oh, okay. So this is where they find out that in their normal form, in their alien form with the tentacles, the 100 tentacles and everything, their non-corporeal form or whatever they are. I don't know what kind of form they have really. Only Spock gets to really know what they are. But what we do know is that they're able to keep themselves in control. They don't use their senses. They're even more in control than, I guess, they don't have the sense of smell or taste or anything. And they don't have the emotions either. So, unlike a Vulcan who does have these senses and chooses to control them, they've never had these senses. And so when they have them, they cannot control them. And so that is their weakness, and that is this is the part of the episode that gets really fun. That makes you're going to need something to wash that down with. Have you ever tried any Saurian brandy?
Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to give a hello to Stark of Iron. G'day,
Hello,
Tony.
Stark of Iron. And that is good timing because I was going back to the chat at this point. I do like to get through some of the review first. Sort of Poopus says, see Scotty's new science fiction epic, The Attack of the Cuboctohedra, coming to the big screen near you. And James Curtis says, poop.
Okay. And a poop to you too, sir.
Wes Cagle says that the Telosians say the same thing. They can't use humans because they are too independent and abhor captivity, even when it's pleasant.
Gilded cages.
The AI show says, Bill in the background with no lines. He must have hated that.
I was actually really impressed with the set construction of engineering and auxiliary control that was happening there, because you had Shatner in the background sort of talking to Tomar or whatever his name is, and you had Spock and Scotty in the foreground. I thought it was really well directed. But yeah, no, it's a good observation that it was actually Bill.
Yeah.
Sort of pantomiming, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Philip Blair says, historically too, all the way back to Plato's time, Plato's allegory of the cave, for example. Oh yeah, that is a good story. Wes Cagle says, that's why they call the United States the Great Experiment. Serfdom and servitude are man's default condition. What we have here is the exception. Oh yeah, that was another thing in the original script. Not only were they going to be darker and kill some people, but they were also going to start treating the crew as slaves early on and make them mate with each other.
Right. But I think DC Fontana put the kibosh on that because she's like, we've kind of done this mating thing before with the menagerie and Gamesters of Triskelion. There's a little bit of that.
It's true.
She really didn't like the repeated. She always wanted to do new things.
Although, like, I know people have been saying this reminds them of Catspaw, but this was giving me Star Trek 5 vibes, where it was like, I'm going to capture your ship, and we're going to travel through the Great Barrier.
Oh yeah,
and that's where the comparison falls.
Yeah,
down.
well, no, that's
right.
After that.
Yeah, in Star Trek 5, they do say they're going to the center of the galaxy.
That's right.
Which they had done before in the animated series also. One time.
Meanwhile, Bones is injecting caffeine.
Yeah, some kind of stimulant. You're right. I don't know. But he says it's just vitamins, but he's lying.
I forget this actor's name, but he also played Tormolin in The Naked Time, the guy who stabs himself with a butter knife.
Oh,
yeah.
nice
like,
call.
Yeah, I can't remember. The name is escaping me right now. He has no business being there. No business.
Well, let's see if we can find him.
Meanwhile, back at the bar.
It's so interesting in Star Trek, especially the original series, where all of the main characters, when you see their living quarters, they're all very interested in historical things or antiques. I mean, Kirk has the little the Aztec god statue, and McCoy has like the scalpel set that of course that was just there for Khan to threaten him. And then you have Scotty with all this ancestral Scottish stuff, or even Spock's things you could argue were sort of ancestral. And there's I don't know if, I mean, it must have been deliberate to just kind of give, I don't know, the viewers a sense that what we think of historical in the 20th century or 21st century, they're still thinking about these things and interested in these things.
And this is the only time. I'm so glad they put so much effort into it, because this is the only time we'll get to see Scotty's quarters.
Ooh, and I bet you that helmet on the left, I bet you that's the helmet of the knight in Shore Leave.
Oh.
It just looks like it. No, maybe I'm wrong. Actually, no, never mind.
It'd be
Scratch
cool
that.
if it is.
No, I don't. No, it had a flatter front, I think.
Well, and also I do appreciate, and it's something it's headcanon, I guess, apocrypha, but the image of the, like, that's a warp engine, like that's an engine on the wall that Scotty has framed, and I like to think that it was from his first ship.
Is that what that is? Okay.
Well, it looks like a nacelle.
Yeah, I guess I kind of thought at first, or my that is sort of like a sword or something up there, but I guess it's no. The thing on top is almost more like a ruler or something, or like a measurement tool. And then you're right, the thing on the bottom looks more like a nacelle of some sort. I don't know.
That's what I was. I wasn't. I would think of it like a ruler too, but I love Scotty's imagination, because he's not wrong. Apparently, what we have in this room is a tartan kilt, of course, on the right side there. Sporin. I don't know what sporin is. What's sporin?
I'm only familiar with polysporin.
Oh, okay. It's part of the kilt and everything. Bagpipes, a Scottish targ, medieval armor, and a wall plaque. Although the plaque apparently depicts stylized drafting tools, like you said, rulers, they also resemble a three-dimensional chess set and the primary hull of a Klingon battle cruiser.
Oh. And just as a complete aside, and I know Sulu is not in this episode, but as long as we're, like, I do appreciate, and it's something that was established with Scotty in Trouble with Tribbles. It's like, sir, I can study more of my technical journals. And it's like, I do appreciate that he has sort of, I don't know, engineering.
Yeah.
Accoutrement. Meanwhile, Kalinda
Kirk apologizes.
Yes. Is this where I hit you? No, it's on the other side. Well, thank heavens you don't have emotions. Can I stimulate your shoulder?
Let's see. They didn't even give Chekhov a chance to scream, says Snortopoopus.
If he had screamed, the dodecahedron would have screamed, and in 5 minutes it just would have been like snooze.
I don't know. That might have been interesting if the dodecahedron made like a squeaking sound.
You would have crushed it in 2 minutes. Dodecanase?
Oh. And yes, Tony is here, as we said. Thank you for greeting him. Snortopoopus Cuber says, of course, the obvious question is, now that they've taken over the ship and exited the galaxy, why do they need Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Scotty? Oh, yes. The actors would have lynched the writers.
Well,
Yeah, they even say we don't need you anymore, but they still keep them.
well, let's break it down. They do need Scotty and Spock in terms of the operation of the Enterprise. And so they do need McCoy to ensure the
The
well-being
upkeep of their
of
human
Scotty
form.
and Spock.
Yeah.
And to eliminate the commander. And, say what you will about Rojan. He is an understanding commander, and he does not want to disrespect Kirk. And so keeping the commanding officer is important for the remaining 3 crewmen, I suppose. If you want to run with that, thank you.
That works for me.
Mm-hmm. And Philip Blair says, what is the function of that poll?
Oh, it's to make it so you can choose whether or not you thought it was an A or a B or a C or a D.
Mm-hmm. Or an F.
There's probably an on-set poll. And it's like, what is the purpose of that poll? Sliding.
Yeah, anytime someone says it, it's the only video I got for this episode because I ran out of time. I took a nap, so I didn't get as many clips from this episode as I should have because I was sleepy.
Okay.
That's green.
I need some green booze.
Creme de menthe.
No, chartreuse. The booze so good they named a color after it.
Jim's Landscape says, I'm listening and mowing in 90-degree temperature. Oh, man. I hope you're staying hydrated.
I'm assuming that's
green.
Fahrenheit. If it's
With
Celsius, wow.
It's Kelvin.
Sparring is a purse for carrying odds and ends. Thank you, Sort of Poopus Keeper. I'm learning Scottish things today. Oh no, Franco got buffering too. Yeah, I know. Why did I get buffering? My internet's supposed to be great. I know.
Are you using Ethernet?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good.
But you know what? I'm gonna fire my Ethernet, and I'm not gonna fire it. I'm gonna get fiber. So whatever that means, I'm gonna figure that out.
I don't even know.
And hopefully, I can still use Ethernet.
It's green.
I don't know. I'm supposed to know computer stuff, but fiber's a new thing, so I get to be ignorant. James Caserta says, "Hero dies, bad guys win, show over." Hero, as in lieutenant, or not lieutenant, Yeoman Thompson, because she's the only one who dies. Franco Walker says, "I'll go with that explanation, Scotty." Oh, he liked your explanation.
See, I always get confused when we're doing the reviews because there's Scotty in the show and then there's me.
That one.
So I don't know who who people are agreeing with.
No, but he's talking about you.
All right.
Oh, you're going to have to leave at 3:30. Okay. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. In about 10 minutes, we'll have you give your final review for the episode.
Oh, excellent.
Oh yeah, there's better things to do than beat up women.
Like what?
Like this. And so this is, of course, all part of their plan to initiate the emotions and senses of the aliens who are not used to having them. But she's already done her research. She primed herself for this kind of thing, not even knowing that Kirk was going to try to seduce her. She was already down with it.
I have many questions.
She read some literature. She must be able to read really quickly. Yes.
First things first, did Kalinda take over Kirk's quarters?
I don't think those are his quarters.
Same set.
Well, yeah, I mean it's the same set for all the quarters, but he doesn't have his usual stuff around.
Okay. Also, the Blu-ray special edition, enhanced, what have you, you can see the hairnet, which is something you would not have seen in the 60s. You would have assumed that that's how her hair goes, but I saw the hairnet and I was like, yeah, no, I'll pat it. I'll forgive it. Also, is that really Jim's plan? He's like, well, there's a woman. I'm going to go and try and defeat her with the power of seduction.
Well, it ends up working because,
she is very resilient. She does sort of arm's length him until she is willing to engage in the experiment of what Kirk is proposing.
Well,
Kirk thinks that he's going to moist her to submission.
Yes.
And Kalinda is ahead of the game.
She is. And so even though his intention was to incite her emotions and defeat her, what ends up happening is he ends up defeating the other guy. What's his name? Rojan. Yeah. Because what Kirk does with her incites jealousy within him, and that's how he. No, what?
Oh,
he just becomes jealous.
I just assumed. I assumed that there was sort of off-screen sex.
It's possible, but with how interested she is in it, all the books she's been reading, I wouldn't put it past Kirk to do that.
Now, I know I was being rude for shock value, but I was sort of comparing this. As I mentioned, I really appreciate the aesthetically pleasing nature of everyone in the cast in this episode, except for, the guy who gets drunk with Scotty. But it is it's a sexual episode because of the nature of drawing out the sensual experiences of humans.
Yes.
However,
it's pulling out the weaknesses of humanity in order to defeat aliens who aren't used to dealing with these foibles.
And yes, James Caserta, I said anal, but I'm looking at this episode and I'm looking at it as an experience of the sensuality of the human experience, which I think is what was being explored and what was overpowering to the Kelvans in the first place. But in the cinematography and the construction of the episode, the direction, if you will, there have been more sexual sort of inferences. The most overt that I can think of is wink of an eye when they drink the water and they go like super fast. And there's a moment, and we'll talk more about it in wink of an eye, when Kirk is putting his boots back on, and it's like, okay, so they totally made with the sex. But I'm wondering if there is an inference or if it's just Kalinda and Kirk kissing. Do you think that there is a more sexual overtone, or is it just like base level high school making out that Kirk sort of turned the tables?
Well, I don't know how far along they got. It's hard to tell how much time is passing here. I guess it can't be that much time if you're basing it on how quick Scotty and the other guy, Tamar, get drunk. But at the same time, she's pretty much explicitly referring to, quote, the biological function, which is more than just snogging, as it were. So I don't know. I think you can make a good argument that, and it doesn't take that much time if you're highly motivated. To get things done on that, explore fully those feelings. So I think, I mean, it's, but that's, it's left a little bit to your imagination. I mean, I think you can make a case either way, which is great.
It's always left to the imagination because Star Trek is so wholesome. You mostly only ever see the kissing and sex may be implied, but we usually never see evidence of that aside from the boots, but sometimes we do. But in this case, definitely left up to you. If you want to imagine that, you may, but it is not on screen. That's for sure.
No, it is not.
And Spock here is, I guess, kind of trolling Rojan.
That's exactly what he's doing. Yeah, and he's great.
Into believing that he's jealous for Kalinda, and it works. And it works pretty well for Vulcan to do it in such a straight manner.
See his flesh tone changing there.
Oh,
Right.
this bothers me so much in the final fight. Look at it. Look at the color of Rojan's jumpsuit.
Okay.
It's salmon.
It is salmon.
So when we get to the final fight, I would like you to
Oh no.
take note of his jumpsuit color. But either way, this is where we get the gamma. Like Scotty does try and say where it's from, but he can't pronounce the name of the planet. He's like, it's Ganymede,
Ganymede moon of Jupiter.
Something along those lines.
That's green.
Come on. I don't care. One day, if I get married, if anyone will put up with me, every drink that I have at the open bar will be green. Margaritas.
Green.
Creme de menthe.
Well, yeah, and it's
melon liqueur.
It's easy to make the beer green.
Exactly. The Irish do it every year, or Americans do it in honor of the Irish.
We do. Well, there goes the internet again. Always in and out at the new place. Not sure if I'll be able to be in the chat. Aw, West Kegel, I'm sorry to hear that. We're all having trouble with the Wi-Fi.
I blame the wildfires in Canada.
Oh, that seems unrelated.
It is.
Blair says ice packs in the pocket help with the heat. I think Kalinda kept Kirk around so she could conduct the snoo snoo experiment. Oh yeah, that's exactly what Scotty was saying. She did her dissertation on snoo snoo. Right. Considering how long they haven't been on the ship very long, and yet she's done extensive literary research on this. This is definitely something she was focusing on well before Kirk started hitting on her. Why do you keep saying that? I did read your chat earlier about the wombats making poop cubes. Philip Blair. Snorted Poop is Cuber says, I don't think Kirk actually had sex with Kalindra, but I'm sure her body was reacting to the stimulus, and then she shared that with Rojan.
Moist.
Wes Cagle says, Kirk never wants to leave it at just making out. So there's the fan theories there.
I don't know. At the end of the episode, when Rojan, I guess, is sort of hooking back up with Kalinda, he seems happy that they're becoming a couple again, or at least equals. Stark of Iron says absinthe is green. That's true. And now that you mention it, I want some.
Key lime margarita.
Yeah.
Sounds like a capital idea. Oh, to get a cup of tea. Green tea.
You know, green tea has more vitamin C in it than in entire orange.
And
wow.
Now Rojan gets more jealous than Neelix on Voyager with Kes.
Oh, man. Wow. That's kind of a... I didn't realize that we were going to get nasty, but you're saying that Rojan is Neelix-ish.
In this scene, yeah.
You're supposed to be my girlfriend. Why are you hanging out with this jock from the football team? I have put all of my efforts into making it so that we can save our race. And you're pretty. Why don't you like me? Why do you like that guy?
You should be the script director.
No.
McCoy's thing is just pumping this guy full of stimulants until he goes crazy.
Here, have some more Splenda in the arm. See, and I identify most to the guy that what's his name again?
Tomar.
Tomar.
Yeah, I identify with Tomar the most in this episode because I'm just sitting there and I'm drinking other people's booze excessively. And I'm just like, do you have any more? And it's like, well, I was going to save this bottle. No, but I want more.
I was saving you for. Oh, he doesn't even say this bottle. He's very intimate with this bottle.
He is.
I was saving you for.
A very, very old bottle of
But
scotch.
I guess saving the galaxy is more important.
I haven't seen Scotty in hours.
What if you could switch it around and actually Scotty was seducing Tomar?
Oh, that's
They're
if
just
it were
making
made today.
out, doing all the human sex.
Scotty, what is that? It's green.
It's green.
Sorry.
No, it was funny. That was good. I appreciate people running with my inappropriateness.
It's well done. But why Spock is asking for some Stokeline?
But
he's just trying to get McCoy out of the scene so Kirk can have a moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of speaks to let's not forget that Leonard H. McCoy is a bit of a ladies' man, and he is taken by Kalinda, and Spock has to be like, "Can we leave? Can we leave?" And McCoy is like, "Yeah, but she's pretty. I just want to hang out here."
Mm-hmm. Cultural mystique surrounding the biological function. She's done more supplemental reading. She does a lot of reading.
Well, she's the first officer of the Kelvans.
Mm. And this guy, what is his name again? I don't.
No, that's Hanar.
Hanar, thank you.
Tomar and Hanar.
Yeah, and Hanar is pretty upset because he's full of
I got another thing. I don't like the way you're running stuff. Why? Oh, your music tastes. They suck.
And this is just research, experiments.
More good trolling coming up here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Hey, did you see where Captain Kirk was?
He was alone. No.
She seemed
Kalinda
anxious to speak with him.
The last time I saw Captain Kirk, he was inside Kalinda. I'm sorry, he was with Kalinda.
Oh my God. I told her to stay away from him.
Well,
it would appear, sir, that you have little control over her, or perhaps Captain Kirk has more.
Now all of this, and yes, now we go back and we've drank every drop in Scotty's quarters.
Yeah, it's all gone. And they both can hold their liquor pretty well, but my money's always on Scotty, and it's true. He goes out first. And this is one of my favorite gifts. I use this gift all of the time.
That picture is actually on my business card.
And so he's going to help, or at least he thinks he's going to take the
try.
Earlier we heard this glass break, but then it's okay.
Yeah.
And hello to Tully Television.
G'day, Tully.
Wes Cagle says to Scotty R37, I blame everything on the Canadian wildfires these days. Oh.
Good for you. So do I.
Yes, but there may be an absence of absinthe there, says the AI show. Wes Cagle says he may be happy for them being in a couple again, but that doesn't mean Kirk still wouldn't try to hit that. Yeah, he was happy about it. Startapoopa says, Kalinda. Kalinda says, Captain Kirk, I find you interesting, but I am staying with Rojan. His tentacle is longer and prehensile.
Oh dear.
Television says, Kirk just trying to populate the universe.
I just, like, while we're at it, and this is an interesting sort of situation, like, do you guys think that Kirk is like a man whore?
No. I think he does what he does in order to, I mean, he enjoys the ladies, definitely. But
Right.
he loves Enterprise more, so anything that he does with them is ultimately superseded by his duty.
But there seems to be a general consensus that he's a himbo.
Yeah, no, there's certainly a pop culture version of him. I think it's kind of now it's gotten to the point where, the pop culture version was, yes, he's sleeping with every green girl in the galaxy. And then there's been an understandable reaction to that saying, no, he wasn't. He's every time he did it, he was just trying to save his ship. And I think the answer is, I think it's a little bit in the middle. I mean, I think most of those instances, he wasn't being gratuitous with his flirting, but there are a couple instances where he is. I mean, he's the romantic lead of the show. So I think mostly he's, the forthright, upright captain who, is not looking to have all these dalliances everywhere. But, when the script calls for one, it's going to be him.
And he definitely has a good time with it when it is required.
Look at this expression. That's great. And then I'm going to have to bail in a minute here.
Oh, yes. Okay. So please tell us your overall review of it. Don't worry about spoilers. We all know the episode.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. I wish I had watched this more recently. I mean, it's all coming back to me now, looking at it. But it's a fun episode. It's I would say a middle of the road kind of episode. It suffers a little bit from, this great change in tone halfway through, from starting as a serious episode with the kind of horrifying, murder of that yeoman, and things seem really, and they're going to blow up the ship, and then it becomes sort of a comedy, and it's good at both. Whether it exactly fits stitching those two kind of tones together, I don't know, but I mean, it does have a lot of interesting and fun parts, and all the many the delightful aspects Scotty referred to are definitely make it interesting for me as well. And yeah, I mean, interesting how. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, and interesting, as you pointed out, Jill, that this was the first time they did the ship going to self-destruct move, and Kirk just couldn't do it. I mean, he just he's always thinking there's a way out. So I wouldn't put it in my top 10 or maybe even top 20, but it's a good solid outing. They have a couple repeated sort of ideas in there, but it's fun, and the scene between Scotty and Tomar is just legendary. I mean, if only for that, I mean, you have to like this episode. So I don't know, maybe a 7 out of 10 or a 6.5 out of 10 if you do those. Or it's fun.
That works. Yeah, any way you like to rate it, it's fine. And thank you so much for hanging out. You're always incredible, even if you haven't seen the episode recently. You know enough about it to talk about it, and you really rock. So
it's always so fun hanging out with you guys, and hopefully we'll do it next week.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm going to engage cloaking device here. So carry on.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
But you're not leaving yet, so I don't need to make
Oh, no, I have to leave. You're on your own.
You are lying.
I am incapable of lying. I'm exaggerating.
And so here's the fight.
Oh, you know what? I was gonna write a script for the fight, and then I realized that there was sort of like there was interstitial dialogue, and that I can't write a fight scene when they're talking in the middle of it.
Well, that's why I didn't ask you for this one. This one's kind of like not the best kind of fight scene, because I guess it makes sense it's not that good, because he's alien who's only just taken human form, so he's not very good at fighting. He's just
But
like
see,
shoving
okay.
his hand in his face, and Kirk is slapping him around.
Open-handed slapping. But like, and again, there's a little bit of respect going on between Rojan and Kirk. But so in the close-ups, his jumpsuit is salmon, but in the long shots, it's yellow.
Oh, it is. Oh, so I guess the stunt double is in a different suit. It's yellow.
Like it looks or orange. I don't know. It looks different than the close-up one in my visual cortex perceptions.
Interesting. And that bothers you.
Well, of course. People not wearing the same costumes. Yes. I want my stunt doubles to be wearing the same clothes. Also, people give a lot of hassle to Shatner and his toupee. It looks like those guys were about to make out. And but like Warren Stevens obviously has more of a toupee going on. Like he's got a lot more sweat and hair. Oh, go back one. Look at that expression on Warren Stevens. Ooh, it looks like he's been poked in the bum by a pen.
Well, Kirk did just say, I'm stimulating him.
Yes, and so yes. Kalinda, obviously excited by the interaction. Oh no, I've never seen two human males mate.
Now you're stuck with it, you and your descendants, for the next 300 years. Look what happened in the short amount of time you've been exposed to us. What do you think will happen in 3 centuries? When this ship gets to Kelva, the people on it will be human. They'll be aliens, enemies.
And that's, and I suppose that's the only X factor that is introduced in the end of the episode to differentiate the beginning argument. And like, the Federation will help you. Oh, we don't want help from the Federation. Well, okay. Well, if you keep living like humans for another 300 years, then you're going to be, yeah.
They have different needs at the end of the episode than they do at the beginning. So that there is that difference, even though the offer is the same.
You would extend friendship to conquerors?
No, to friends.
Yes. The power of friendship.
The power of friendship. Thank you, DC Fontana.
How do you know it wasn't the other guy?
Because she wrote the latter half of the episode to be lighter than the dark episode that Bixby wrote. So that's the episode, I think.
Well, no. Then Rojan says to Kalinda, do you want to go with the Homo sapien, or do you want to stick around with a Kelvin? And she's like, I owe you an apology. And then they make out.
Will somebody explain to her at some point that, do you just say I'm sorry as an apology? Or is this the way she's going to live her entire life? Apologizing to people in this way?
Rojan sitting there saying, don't apologize to other people.
Only to me.
And everyone is happy. We don't get to see the reconstitution of the cast or of the crew.
Right.
It's just
as far as we know, everybody's still cubes, but since they're making friends, it's easy to assume that, yes, they're going to bring everybody back to their normal selves. Produced by John Meredith Lucas. Robert H. Dressman. Guest starring Warren Stevens as Rojan.
Barbara Boucher is the hottest woman in all of Star Trek.
Kalinda. Then we also have Stuart Moss as Hanar, the guy who got angry on stimulants.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie Dalton as Drea.
Julie Cobb as Thompson.
And Carol Bird as Lieutenant Shea.
Calvin Shea. Hey, look at that. It's a swastika.
But also additional music composed by Fred Steiner. Great.
Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. Tune in 2 weeks where we talk about John Gill and a horrible situation that happens on a planet far, far away from here.
Yes, it's another, hey, look, it's another Earth-like planet episode.
What if anti-Semitism was with aliens? I can't wait for this episode. It's
It
gonna be
was
so
with
great.
aliens. Yes, and as you said, we don't get to see her, Chekhov, Chapel, or anybody else restored to human form with the episodes at the end.
No. Uhura.
Yeah.
Shay. Either way. Or Eddie Paskey. No Mr. Leslie.
So what are your final thoughts on this episode? What do you rate it?
I feel like I'm kind of nostalgic about this episode. I don't know. I think I mentioned it before we aired, but this is an episode of Star Trek that has always shown up. When I tune in, it's like, oh, it's by any other name. It's always by any other name. I love this episode. I think all the chicks are hot in it. I think that the interaction and friendships and everyone doing their jobs, the Kirk's command decision to not blow up the Enterprise in the energy barrier, and then McCoy being like, well, you shoulda. Like, I love this episode very much. So like, it's an emotional response, and if I were to assess it logically, I would give it a B. But the emotional attachment that I have to this episode gives it an A.
A solid A from Scotty R37. Nice. I give it an A-. And so we had a fantastic comedy last week in which the crew helped one planet that had been wronged in the past. But this time we're not only back with a galactic threat, but an intergalactic threat from the Andromeda Galaxy. And I love this episode simply because it deals with one of the main issues of Star Trek and lots of other sci-fi that exists because of budget and because of the special effects restraints. Not only of its time, but it's still an issue unless you're making an animated series. And of course, that issue is that all the aliens look like us in some way. They're humanoid, if not outright pretty much human, requiring lots of imagination, backstory telling to make them more alien. But here we have true aliens with 100 armed tentacles that only Spock was able to see. But at least we know that they were only using the human forms as shells, which I thought was a really clever idea. And this episode did come under budget thanks to lots of clever ideas like that, like the dodecahedron, to give the audience a shred of the fact that if we ever do encounter aliens, the chances that they're going to look like anything like us will be astronomically low. So I love this episode for that alone, and for one other thing. While they couldn't make the episode as dark as Bixby wanted, turning people into geometric solids is still scary and creepy to me. But what makes it stand out is that finally, a female red skirt is not only in trouble, but killed off just like any other red shirt, which is something no one was brave enough to do before or since in the episodes anyway. So this one always stands out above the rest for that for me. The women should be as much in danger as the men on these adventures. If you never put the women in danger, then you don't take them as seriously. And so this episode changes that, and I love it for that. I only don't give it a higher rating than an A- because we never get to see all the crew members come back to life. That would have been fun from their game board shapes. But I suppose if they struck a deal with the Kelvans, it makes sense. They'd bring them back to working order. And it's also kind of weird to give up planets to would-be conquerors. But it's Star Trek, and I love the idea that the Federation thinks it can win the hearts and minds of the Kelvans with assistance, understanding, and friendship. And so there's that hopefulness that they can make things better. And maybe they'll be able to figure out this paralyzing tech and learn something from these. And they also got a faster ship out of it, maybe? I don't know really what the deal with that was.
Don't forget, between the original series and Star Trek The Next Generation, like the entire sort of warp standard changes.
does.
Like warp 11, warp 14 is referenced in this episode, and that's not like and then by the time we get to the next generation, warp 10 is the fastest you can go. It's like the speed limit, it's like the speed of light. And so maybe Kelvin technology was the thing that assisted them in finding that standard.
It makes sense to me. And giving a planet to conquerors has been done before with Khan, and then much later when lots of tolerance is given to the Dominion when they come from the Gamma Quadrant before the war really starts. I'm only surprised that the Kelvans don't appear later saying, hey, remember us? We've improved our paralyzing technology, built our population up, and now we're coming for you. But I had a lot of fun with this episode, and that's always a factor with my scoring.
Well, and I just want to reference it because it's still a part, whether you acknowledge it or appreciate it or not. Like, let's not forget Discovery goes to the 30th century. Like, why don't we, they should incorporate some Kelvans. Because by that time, the Kelvans should have returned and had some places to go.
Well, yeah, at some point, the Andromeda Galaxy is not going to be able to hold on to them anymore, and they have to turn somewhere, and they're going to end up somewhere in the Milky Way galaxy.
Like, what's 100 millennia? Is that like 100 million years? Or is that 100,000 years?
100,000 sounds right, because each millennia is 1,000 years.
Okay. So I'm just saying, if the writers on Discovery were doing anything well, then they would bring back the Kelvans. But let's not forget they don't do anything well.
Yeah, no, if we were in an alternate universe where Secret Hideout didn't have Star Trek and we had somebody who was generally thinking about the continuity of the series and using the past as a shepherd for figuring out something really fun to expand on a universe that we love, then yeah, sure, why not? We could have Kelvins come back and that would be lots of fun. But as it is, they don't really respect the past. And so we don't get anything fun.
They would prefer to call the Guardian of Forever Carl.
Okay, so where was I in the chat?
I don't know. This is your ship.
I was so shocked when Sub-Commander Tall left and it was 2:30. I thought it was 1:30. I don't know where an hour went. This was too fun.
It is fun. This is a great episode and it's fun to talk about.
Yeah, Kirk just trying to populate the universe. Yeah, I read that one from Tully. Hey, Tully Televisions. You are more than welcome here. Yes, thank you for having me. Of course. Thank you for being here. So cool to see you. The AI show says, I couldn't believe it. Scotty looks like a guy who needs to drink after dealing with all the structural issues on the ship. Oh, I could believe it, rather. It says the AI show. Well, we never see him get that drunk. We never seen him get that drunk before or since. He did it for the ship. Just like Kirk made out for the ship. But he'll do that again and again. Wes Kago says Kirk is what was known as a ladies' man in the 60s and a problematic toxic male today.
It's only problematic if there is no consent. As long as there is consent, flirting, and seduction. What is it? It's a horrible, horrible adage. But I heard this on a dock that I was working when I was a longshoreman. And the difference between rape and seduction is 20 minutes of conversation.
Well, and Kalinda is definitely consenting. She did all the research and she wanted some experimental data. And she got it with Captain Kirk.
Of course, Sub-Commander Tall. It's always so nice to speak with him.
Oh, yes, definitely. There was always a way out till Star Trek 3, says Wes Cagle. Oh, yeah. That's where we lose our ship. I didn't know Kirk was a toxic shopping center, says the AI show to Wes Cagle. James Caserta says the chat has to go in camaraderie with Scotty saying he was also leaving. That would be crazy if when Sub-Commander Tall left and Scotty said, I'm also leaving, and he left, and then the entire chat left. What the heck?
It's all up to you.
I would, if that happened, I would still finish the show.
You're the communications officer. You have to do all the communicating.
I do. That's my job. Communications is needed. The AI show says the kind of ladies' man Kirk would be problematic back then in certain circles.
I don't
The
know.
land type. Well, yeah, I wasn't there in the 60s, so I can't answer that question.
Well, and I don't like the blanket statement. Like some women like forceful men, some women like subservient men, and vice versa. Some men like forceful women, and some men like subservient women.
Yeah,
I don't think that there's a blanket statement for seduction and coupling.
Right,
I don't
a lot
think
of
that
women
it
like
is.
to be appreciated.
Yeah, I don't think that there is a social standard as to how people like to be treated for affection. And to do so, I think is short-sighted.
The key is to just remember respect, and you'll be fine.
Like, don't forget, if you're going to seduce somebody, you're going to want to spend more time with them. So don't piss them off the first time you seduce them.
That's why it's great to start with friendship and not go straight for the seducing.
Yeah,
but they don't have a lot of time in these episodes.
In the immortal words of Monty Python and the Meaning of Life, why are you going directly to the clitoris? Why don't we just kiss? Just try a kiss.
That's good advice. Yeah, I spell and type like old people, have sex slow and sloppy, says Wes Cagle to the AI show. Franco Walker says the jumpsuit looks the same color to me. Yeah, I didn't see much of a problem, but maybe Scotty's
I don't know.
right.
Maybe it was just my cones and rods.
Sora Poopa says the jumpsuit is probably not separate. It's part of the skin Rojan is wearing. That's kind of creepy to think that.
It is kind of weird. But I appreciate. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It makes sense. I didn't say it didn't make sense. It just is kind of creepy. Like, oh, you thought this was clothing? No, I just formed it out of my own biology. Skin.
Anal?
Yeah, thank you for reading for James Caserta. I wasn't feeling like reading that one. Wes Cagle says, it does look slightly off color, so he agrees with you. My eyes are shot anyway, says Frank Walker. Has Spock got lipstick on his cheek?
I didn't notice.
Wes Cagle.
My Little Pony. Friendship is magic.
It is, though. She's been deflowered, says James Caserta. So that's another
By
point
any other
for
name?
Kalinda's state of her human form. Sonora Poop is here.
Are we going to have to apologize to the entire crew? I would love it if someone ran a train of apologies on me. I'll be here in the middle of engineering. Please apologize all over my face, neck, and chest. Wait, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? We can edit that out in post.
No, it's fine. Because you were saying it as Kalinda.
That's exactly. I was doing a perfect Swedish supermodel impression. Hello, my name is Kalinda.
And it's true. She's done her research, and it makes sense. She wants to complete her experiments, and what better way to complete your experiment than by having as many test samples as possible?
Oh my God! When you say it like that, it's even dirtier.
Thanks. Chrono says, "I'm missing the show." Hey, Anti-Derivatives Party. Yeah, you missed the whole show, but I love to have you here. But you did vote. Yeah, great.
Kronos.
What do you think of the episode, Kronos? The AI show says, from what I hear from friends who lived in the 60s, Kalinda was showing how some people apologized back then and even said hello. Well, I do know some cultures kiss on the cheek for hello and goodbye. Story Poopus Cuber says John Gill, the most stupid historian ever.
He made the trains run on time, and he controlled the method of production, I think.
Oh, Chrono says, I like tuning out most of the time.
Well, good.
And who
what
makes
did you say?
green whiskey?
Aldebrans.
Yes. Wes Cagle says, better watch out. Your stream might be banned for that slide with the swastika.
No.
But why, though? It's history. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, are we supposed to pretend it never happened?
Yeah. I'm more assertive than most, but I think that the people who warn you off of certain words like Nazi or swastika, they're warning you off because they want to present an air of censorship. But I think that if you're contextual and reasonable, then I think you're okay to have a conversation about something that actually happened.
I
But if
hope
you
you're
want to be
right.
afraid of it, then enjoy being afraid.
I hope you're right, but I'll find out once I'm monetized about how many streams actually get monetized. And
But
it'll
the
be about 3.
Phantasmagorium is monetized, and I say Nazi all the time, especially
You do?
because we did an Indiana Jones review.
Right. And yeah, context is very important.
Mhm.
And I
So
don't think
I
it's
think
a good
that
idea.
anybody who says like Yahtzee or I'm not allowed to say this word, it's just like you're promoting fear in communication. You're a part of the problem. Censorship
I wouldn't
needs
say
to
that
be
it's part of the
battled.
problem. I don't think it's a part of the problem. I think it's their channel, and if it's their choice to censor words in order to maintain their monetization status, I'm not opposed to it. But I
Well,
also, at the same point, I do want to make sure that history is reflected accurately, and so I won't use those words. But I don't disrespect people who do.
I would prefer it if people use them with the weight that they are intended. You can't throw them around willy-nilly, but I
Mhm.
just, don't be afraid of the words.
And I'm not. Most of them. Chronos says Mafia Planet was horrible. I really loved that episode. So
It was the transmissions in the cars. They were terrible.
Kago says really have a rough time typing today. But we weren't on Mafia Planet today, Cronus. Today we were
We
on
were in
the ship.
Kalinda. Wait,
Yeah.
no.
Oh man, that's a callback to a joke from earlier. If you were watching this entire stream.
And if you aren't, you should check it out on the rerun. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell your mom.
Mm-hmm. And West Kago says, would you rather live on the Mafia Planet or the Nazi planet? The Mafia Planet, obviously,
Mafia
because it's going to
Planet.
get better.
Yeah.
Because according to Ronald D. Moore, after the events of A Piece of the Action, they start to copy Starfleet, and so in a 100 years there'll be more Starfleet like, and that's got to be fun.
Stark of Iron's got to take off, so see you, Tony.
Bye, Tony. See you later.
Don't go changing.
So
Poopa says,
you may read.
I gave it a B+, a slight down check for some of the questions I will always have, being a silly polar bear. Oh, but you're an insightful polar bear, my Poopus.
Yeah, I'd love to hear those questions.
I'll accept your B+.
Corona says, did Jill ever read the chat?
No.
I read what I can, because I have a short time period. I have like 5 minutes left for this live stream, and I gotta go and do stuff. And so
also,
I do have to be choosy. I wish I could read everything.
Well, in the chat, he's using a lot of racial slurs, so that's something to be avoided. No, that's just what I read.
The AI show says, see, middling episode, nothing special at first when Kirk and company beam down, but picks up a bit when they get back to the ship. Typical alien interaction episode. Seemed watered down in writing.
I'm okay with that. It is an adventure show, but again, like my emotions, it does give it a soft spot in my cold, dead heart.
Mm-hmm. Wes Cagle says, I give it a B+ solely for the It's Green line.
It's green.
Yep, it'll live forever. And it's a solid A for Franka Walker. Gorgeous woman. Women.
Yeah, man. The women!
Hey, Lemon Pie. Hello.
Lemon!
Gorilla says, they're assholes. The Federation could have really used this tech in the Dominion War. Yeah, you're right.
Well, also, like the Spore Drive.
That doesn't exist, Scotty. Sorry.
I would advise you to keep dialing, Alex Mix.
Okay. Cronus says,
I don't know. I just love that. line. It is apropos of nothing. I just wanted to see Spock in a suit.
Oh, I don't mind that. I do like Spock in a suit. Kirk in the suit isn't too bad either. I choose to take off and nuke planets both from orbit. It's the only way to be sure, says West Cagle.
True. Well, you don't see them effing each other over for a profit or a percentage. My mistake. Have we reviewed Aliens, Jill?
No. But if we did that, okay. Can we do 1 and 2 in one?
1 and 2 in one?
And one live stream?
I don't know. Sure. It's your channel. We can do whatever you want.
Bunny Snipe says, I have learned the hard way lately that scoring anything from the golden age of a franchise, anything but A+, will get you labeled a fake fan. What? You can score however you like. I don't care what kind of labels people want to impose upon you. If you feel like TOS is an A+, you stick to your heart.
Well, and Bunyan Snipe, good to see you. Welcome. And secondly, have you seen the alternative factor? That is not an A+.
Yeah, that's my only F. I haven't given anything else an F so far.
Yeah.
Bunny Snipe says, but as an adult, I don't care what these echo chamber residing adults think. Good. You don't need to. God,
hey, man, I'm a She-Hulk fan. I'm allowed to like whatever I want. And if you don't like what I like, go F yourself. I'd advise you is to keep dialing. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking when you played that. I was like, dang, you're just telling me off. Like, you really want to believe in that sport drive.
No, I don't. No, of course not. The mycelial network can go and be like sauteed and put on a steak.
Well, that's what mushrooms are for. Kalinda got hold of Kirk's porn collection. Oh, I didn't think of it that way. I kept thinking literature.
Oh.
Of course it was porn. Sarapupus. How did they get that? They got it past the censors because they made it seem like she was just reading some books.
It wasn't about the physical interaction. It was about like Kalinda was talking about love, and you've devoted a lot of literature. And let's not forget, earlier in the episode, Kirk does reference Shakespeare, so maybe that's what she sort of glommed onto in the first place. And she was like, "Oh, Shakespeare." Maybe
so she read Romeo and Juliet, and that was where she started. And I imagine she can read very quickly, considering how much she seems to know.
Then she read Macbeth and then decided to do that to Rojan.
Kronos says, I give this an A. And Bunny Snipe says, I had the temerity to suggest that Star Wars was just 3 films and everything else was just nice bonus and they should enjoy life.
I'm with you. Yeah, although I do say 6. I say 6 because I do like the prequels.
The prequels, I saw them once. They're okay.
Yeah, but again, they're not. Yeah, they're fine.
Scotty passing out, priceless.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Montgomery Scott.
Well,
yes, he did.
Yeah.
Not me this time.
Well, no. I've learned not to call you 20 times after that happens. But I'll still do it anyway.
Like 10. 10's worth it. I usually get up at the 7th.
Yeah, if you're going to get up, it's going to happen at the 7th. So any further calls would be
Bunyan Snipe. Time. We're on a Star Trek review show. We can talk about this later on Oh My Force. It's a new podcast coming out every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. where Jill and I are going to talk about every episode of the animated series Ewoks and droids.
I don't know. You have been wanting to talk about Star Wars, but I don't know when.
I don't. I want to do an affectionate retrospective on the first 6 episodes, but I have no interest to go through Disney Star Wars.
But I think Kat needs to be there for regular.
Of course. And also, if you are a fan of Star Wars talk, I would recommend Sly Snide on Twitter. She does a Star Wars show I think it's every second Sunday, I think. But no, she's amazing, and she knows way more about Star Wars than I do.
Yeah,
probably Tony knows. Like Bunyan Snipe knows way more about Star Wars than I do. I am low level. I am 6 episodes and out.
Yeah, everybody knows more Star Wars than I do. I just like C3PO. Kronos says, I'm just glad to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you here, Kronos.
And Gorilla says, Jill, your stream will be fine. I mean, you have Scotty on the stream, so a swastika is nothing.
Exactly. And we already did like a doodle of the Star of David, so we've balanced out our iconography.
Yeah, we did. In order to draw a cuboctahedron. That's what.
Oh man, I want to see that. I want to see that again. You got to share that again.
I will.
Okay.
Oh, I really got to go. So I didn't realize there was so much wonderful chat here. I hate
there more?
Yahtzees.
Can we just go? All right, you
no.
do lightning round and I'll read it.
Okay.
Wes Cagle says, I agree. History is history. The only thing you get from erasing it is to increase your risk of repeating the mistakes of it. I agree. Snortapoopa says, presumably Ekos was denazified. I don't know what that meant, but yes. Bunyan Snipe says, they used to say colors a lot in 1960s TV, but most people still had black and white sets. Yes. Wes Cagle says, on the Mafia planet, they are screwing each other over for a percentage. That is true, but it's business. Hey, it's business. Chrono says, never saw 50 Shades of Pooh. Oh, dude, I'm going through Twilight, and so I'm looking forward to that. Franco Walker says, then she read Lady Chatterley's Lovers, so 50 Shades of and 50 Shades of Grey.
That's where that came from. Kalinda is reading trash. Okay, gotcha.
Well, no, she's reading erotica.
Bunyan
Snipe says, well, I got the Star Trek stuff for the Foundry virtual tabletop now, Scott. Well, tabletop, I look forward to playing a game with you eventually, Bunyan.
And so I do have to go now. Yeah, I don't want to be late. So I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave you guys with a preview for next week's episode.
Wait, don't we have one more thing to do though?
Wait,
don't forget to show up on Plomy Tea Time when we are going to be celebrating the Majesty on the anniversary of Star Trek. That is Star Trek for the Voyage Home.
Hold on just a second.
Oh no, I've broken the entire vehicle, and I believe that there is a double dumbass on me. But I did want to celebrate that. I wanted to say that yes, we're going to be celebrating the anniversary of Star Trek this Friday on Jill's channel. And we're going to be talking about The Voyage Home. It is my favorite Star Trek movie. Jill has said in the past that it is her favorite movie. And we'll see if it holds up to scrutiny. Looking forward to it. And thank you all for being here.
Oh my God. I thought somebody broke into my house, but it was just my husband, fortunately. That's crazy. All right.
Did you want to leave us off? I think I promoted everything.
Oh, you did? Okay, great. Thank you for doing that.
Subscribe to this channel. Check me out on X 3 times. I'm Scotty R37.
Oh, hey, Princess Fiona. Great to see you
Fiona.
Here. Yes.
Can't hear, but I would like to also.
Yes. Hello to Princess Fiona. And did I upload the preview for next week? This looks like. Let's see. Let's find out.
Medical log. 3 alien minds now inhabit the bodies of Captain Kirk, Science Officer Spock, Dr. Ann Mulhall.
I am Sargon.
Go along with us.
Lend us your bodies for a short time.
And destroy them.
I could destroy you with one thought.
Spock's consciousness is gone. We must kill his body.
Pain, Captain. Exquisite pain.
Without the same formula, Captain Kirk will die.
It is therefore necessary for you to kill your captain so that Sargon will die with him.
What is it?
He's dead.